We got some great starts from Reese, Olson and Andrew Heaney. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Thursday, April 24th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers, and let's do a little beat the waiver wire. Two names who look like they might be two-star pitchers next week, and they both had great starts here on Wednesday. Andrew Heaney. Yes, that Andrew Heaney. He was at the Angels and threw 6 shutout innings, 1 hit allowed, 0 walks, 9 strikeouts. He had 24 whiffs on 95 pitches, and he has looked really good so far this season. Reese Olson had his best start of the season up against the Padres. 7 1/3 shutout, 2 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 17 whiffs on 85 pitches. If we're looking at the potential matchups, for Heaney, it's home against the Cubs and Padres. And for Olson, it's at the Astros, at the Angels. So, Chris, talk to me about these two pitchers, whether or not you're buying into either of them, and whether or not you like the matchups for next week.
Even if I was buying into Andrew Heaney, and I'm not really, Cubs and at San Diego or versus San Diego is, I suppose there are worse matchups you could have, but the Cubs have been the best offense in baseball so far this season, and the Padres are the least strikeout prone team in baseball yet again this season. So I don't know. I don't think Andrew Heaney's very good, and he has a 1.72 ERA. So clearly I've been wrong about him, and my ability to prognosticate what is likely to happen has been off on Andrew Heaney through, 5 starts. But we go through this every year. There are always these stretches where veteran pitchers with limited upside go through sometimes whole months or even half seasons where they pitch well ahead of expectations. It almost always falls apart on them. I think it will on Andrew Heaney. I think there's a decent chance it happens this week with the Cubs and Padres matchup. So I would not be running out to add him. Reese Olson, I think, is much more interesting as a talent. He's got that changeup and slider combo that it legitimately great pitches. The problem is the fastballs are just really bad. And one thing I like seeing from him this season is throwing the sinker more than the four-seamer. They're both bad pitches. They don't get whiffs. If he's going to get hit hard with one of his fastballs, I'd rather it be the one where he tends to get hit hard on the ground than in the air. So I will take that trade-off. I don't really buy that Reese Olson is about to go on a huge run where he looks like an ace. I think the component parts are more interesting than the sum, but I'd rather have him at Houston and then versus the Angels, who, by the way, after Andrew Heaney's 9 strikeout start, 10% of the 9 strikeout starts this season have come against the Angels. So 5 of them in their past 9 games, no less. So I think Reese Olson's got a decent chance to have a good week next week.
All right, let's find some Corey Seager replacements because unfortunately he went on the IL with a right hamstring strain. And if we're looking at some names in shallower leagues, Dylan Moore, 69% roster, Jeremy Pena, 65%, Cedon Rafaela, 61%, Mason Wynn, 57%. This is not a great position to need replacements, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, look, Dylan Moore will steal bases and hit the occasional home run. He's also probably going to hit like 220. So it's up to you if you want to handle that batting average liability. I think Pena and Wynn are probably the 2 most interesting options here. Pena's hot right now, at least relatively speaking. So I guess I'd rather have him than Wynn, who was showing signs of life before going on the IL, but I'll give Pena a slight edge there.
All right, what about some names in deeper leagues? Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, 28% rostered. Luis Angel Acuna, also 28%. Brooks Lee, 20%. JP Crawford, 13%.
Not very interesting here either. I think Acuna is probably the most interesting. He's running a decent amount this season. He's looked better with the bat than expected since getting called up late last year. And, now we're hearing that the Mets are playing Jeff McNeil in center field on his minor league rehab assignment. They've done it at least twice in the past week, maybe more. And so they are legitimately thinking about that. Which could be a way for Luis Angel Acuna to remain in the lineup He's a very good defensive infielder. He's also played a little bit of outfield in the minors, so maybe they go with that if they want to. But I think he's the most interesting here, and the biggest question is playing time.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more. It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal! On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Welcome back in FBT Express. Let's take a look at some bullpens, Chris. We've got some stuff going on right now. Apparently, Emmanuel Clase experienced some shoulder discomfort after his appearance on Sunday. That was Clase's third day pitching in a row and explains why Cade Smith got the saves both on Monday and Tuesday. I think in deeper leagues where you're constantly speculating on saves, Cade Smith needs to be rostered.
Yep.
And even if you are in a 12-team roto league, I would almost want to handcuff Cade Smith with Clase if I had Clase on my team.
I mean, Cade Smith is one of those pitchers. I mean, he's in his second season. He's thrown about 90, I think, career innings. He's got like a 1.80 ERA and a 35% strikeout rate. That's the kind of pitcher who is a viable option in a roto league, even if he's not getting saves, because the ratios are going to be really good. He's a useful guy to have if you need an injury replacement. And yeah, if he's going to have a few more opportunities to get saves, if they're going to have to be a little more cautious with Clase, if Clase ends up going on the IL, especially, I think Cade Smith becomes a must roster player for however long that is. The one thing I will stress, though, is I think it's very unlikely that Cade Smith just becomes the closer here if Emmanuel Clase is healthy. I think they're going to give him a long leash. I think they're going to, like, if he's not on the IL, he's going to remain the closer, I think, for at least another, 3 weeks, and he'd have to really keep struggling to lose it. So that's the one thing to keep in mind is I just don't think it's very likely Cade Smith just becomes the closer in Cleveland.
Two others that are injury related. Ryan Pressly dealing with a knee injury, apparently had it drained recently, and Craig Counsell said he hopes Pressly is available by Friday. Porter Hodge picked up the save Wednesday against the Dodgers in a one-run game, and Justin Martinez of the D-backs apparently is dealing with right shoulder fatigue, and manager Torey Lavulo said it could be a dead arm phase. Justin Martinez did pitch on Wednesday, inning, 1 strikeout. He looked fine. But if we're just looking at these two bullpens, Chris, I think clearly Porter Hodge is the backup. But who would be next up for the D-backs if something were to happen to Justin Martinez?
Well, this is the problem. They entered the season with what looked like 3 closer candidates in Justin Martinez, AJ Puck, and Kevin Ginkel. Ginkel, I don't think has pitched this season because of a shoulder injury. AJ Puck just went on the IL with an elbow. Getting a second opinion. That sounds a little scary. So if Justin Martinez does have to miss time, and the fact that he pitched on Wednesday after this news came out makes it seem like it's pretty minor. Shelby Miller, I guess, but that's a pretty, he was pretty mediocre last season. Strikeout rate fell. So I'm not particularly excited about that. I will say just with Porter Hodge and Ryan Pressly had the edge coming into the season. I felt very confident he was going to be the closer. They went out and got him. If this just becomes like a who's better gets the closer job, I think I'd probably just bet on Porter Hodge. And so if he gets a chance here in the next couple of days with Pressly out, or if Pressly has to go on the IL, I do think there's a legitimate chance Porter Hodge just takes it and runs with it.
Two other bullpens that are a little bit shaky right now for the Tigers. Not really shaky because of performance, just don't really know what's going on. Like Tommy Canley has pitched fine this season, but he entered in the 8th inning on Wednesday, and Will Vest pitched in the 9th inning. Now, it wasn't a save opportunity, but that's now, I believe, 3 games in a row that Will Vest has pitched in the 9th inning. So just trying to figure out who will get the majority of the saves for the Tigers. And then for the Giants, Ryan Walker entered the 9th inning with a 4-run lead. He allowed 2 runs on 3 hits. He only recorded 1 out. He was relieved by Camilo Doval, who got the final 2 outs for his 4th save, and we know that he has closer experience. Ryan Walker on the season, 7.27 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. Chris, what's your feel right now for the Tigers and Giants bullpens?
I think one with the Tigers, because I think that one's weirder, but also low stakes, right? One hypothesis I have is just Tommy Canley's a weird pitcher. He throws that changeup, 80% of the time? It's possible that they just look at that and say, we like him. We trust him in high leverage spots. We don't trust him in all high leverage spots or against all lineup configurations. That could be the simple answer. And it's just, there's no one closer there because they have multiple options who are all fairly replaceable. With the Giants, Ryan Walker was amazing last year, but it was just sinker sweeper, very straightforward approach, not a long track record. That's one where I do think he has a chance to just lose the job. Camilo Duvall, former 2-time All-Star, I believe, or at least 1-time All-Star, led the league in National League in saves 1 year. The strikeout rate hasn't been back, but the control has been good, and that was the primary reason he lost the job last year. So I do think there's a chance Duvall just gets that job if Ryan Walker continues to struggle, and I think he's good enough to hold on to it. So among all the guys we're talking about, I do think Duvall has potentially the most long-term appeal.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.